The drive to Ethan's apartment felt like a lifetime. Each passing moment seemed to stretch on forever. The city passed by in a blur, and all I could think about was him, the man with the grey eyes. The moment Ethan had mentioned him, my mind had gone into overdrive. Why did he feel so familiar? Why had my mind been blocking out memories for so long? My grip tightened on the steering wheel as the unease settled deep in my stomach. I had always trusted my mind, but now I wasn't so sure. Was I remembering correctly? Or someone controlling my memories, just like Ethan's? I can't ignore this. I can't run from it anymore. I pulled up in front of Ethan's apartment building. The grey sky above reflected my inner turmoil. The day was muted, the clouds pressing down like they were trying to suffocate me. I glanced at the rearview mirror and caught a glimpse of myself, eyes wide, pale, unsettled. My face was taut with the weight of everything I had learned, or rather, everything I hadn't. Stepping out of the car, I felt the weight of something heavy hanging in the air. It wasn't just a grey-eyed man anymore. It was the past, the memories that had been hidden from me, buried deep beneath the surface. I didn't want to dig them up, but I had no choice. As I walked toward the entrance of the building, I wondered how much of my own life had been taken from me. Was I complicit in whatever was happening to Ethan? Could I have been part of the plan all along, just as Ethan said? The thought of being part of something so much larger than myself made my skin crawl. I buzzed the apartment number. A few seconds later, the intercom crackled to life.
Dr. Marks.
Ethan's voice came through, distorted but full of fear.
You're here. Come up.
I took the elevator to the 3rd floor, each floor feeling like it was taking me deeper into the heart of this twisted nightmare. When the elevator doors opened, I stepped into the dimly lit hallway, the bus of fluorescent lights overhead adding to the oppressive atmosphere. I could feel my heartbeat quicken as I approached Ethan's door. When I knocked, the door opened almost immediately, and Ethan stood there, eyes wide and bloodshot. His hair was disheveled, as if he hadn't slept in days. He looked more like a man who had been on the run, cornered by his own mind.
Dr. Marks.
Ethan said, his voice hoarse.
Please come in. I need to show you something.
I followed him into his small, sparsely furnished apartment. The air inside was stale, thick with tension. I could hear the hum of a fan in the corner, but it barely cut through the silence that loomed over us. "What's going on, Ethan?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, though I felt anything but calm. "What did you mean when you said you were part of it? What do you remember?" Ethan closed the door behind us and sank down onto the couch, his hands trembling. He was visibly shaking, as if the weight of his own thoughts was too much to bear. Then Ethan whispered,
I don't know if I can handle this anymore, Dr. Marks. The man with the gray eyes, he's not just a figment of my imagination. He's real. I've seen him again and again. In my dreams. In flashes, but I can't remember everything. It's like parts of me have been taken away. They've erased parts of me. And I think you're connected to all of this.
I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breath. What did he mean by that? How was I involved? I don't understand, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What part of you? What are you talking about? Ethan looked up at me, his eyes full of desperation.
I've seen things. Memories that don't belong to me. And I think...
He paused, almost as if he were gathering his strength. Then he started talking again.
I think I've seen you. In my memories. In places I shouldn't have been. I don't know how, but somehow, I know you've been involved in this. Maybe even from the beginning.
I felt my heart skip a beat. His words hit me like a cold slap. I hadn't told him anything about my past. How could he know this? How could he possibly know? You're mistaken, I said quickly, though the uncertainty in my voice betrayed me. I've been helping you. You're not losing your mind, Ethan. These are just fragments of your past. It's normal. The mind, it can create connections that don't really exist. But I'm here to help you. But the more I spoke, the less convincing I sounded. I didn't believe myself. I was no longer sure of anything. Something was happening to both of us. Something bigger, darker, and I was trapped in it too.
I don't think you're telling me everything, Dr. Marks.
Ethan said. His voice was soft but insistent.
There's something you're not remembering. Something important.
I felt my chest tighten as I tried to breathe. What was he talking about? Why did it feel like everything I had ever known was suddenly slipping through my fingers? Ethan continued his talking. His voice was barely audible.
There's a file. A file you've been hiding. A file with my name on it. A file you haven't shown me.
I froze. A file with his name. I hadn't kept anything like that. Or at least, that's what I thought. What do you mean? I said, my voice shaking. I don't know what you're talking about. But Ethan wasn't looking at me. His eyes were focused on something across the room. He stood up and began walking toward the bookshelf that lined the far wall. I stood motionless, my heart pounding as I watched him. He reached for a particular book on the shelf, one I didn't recognize. He pulled it out, and as he did, something fell out from behind it. A thick envelope marked with a bold black stamp. Confidential. I gasped as I saw it. This wasn't just a random file. It was mine. But I had no recollection of putting it there. How had it gotten there? How had Ethan known about it? Ethan looked at me, his face pale. He held the file in his hands, trembling.
You've been hiding it from me, haven't you? You've been hiding the truth. And now I think I know why.
I felt my stomach drop. I wasn't sure whether I was more terrified of what was in the file, or the fact that Ethan had somehow known about it. I don't know what you're talking about, I stammered, backing away from him. Give me the file, Ethan. But he didn't listen. Slowly he opened the envelope, revealing the contents inside. My name was at the top of the first page, my signature beneath it. I felt my breath catch in my throat. My own handwriting. The notes inside, they were mine.
It's all in here, Dr. Marks. You've been part of this all along. You've been hiding this from yourself.
Ethan stepped back, holding the file out to me. I reached for the file, my hands shaking. The papers inside were covered with notes I didn't remember writing. My name, My signature, my thoughts, things I couldn't remember. And as I flipped through the pages, one thing became painfully clear. I had been involved in something I couldn't remember, something that was now coming back to haunt me. Ethan's words echoed in my head. You've been hiding it from me, hiding the truth. But the truth was something much darker, something I wasn't ready to face. What had I forgotten? And more importantly, what had I done?